Hi, everybody, and thanks for coming to our presentation on the Virginia Hall Memorial Library and Archives. Before we begin, I want to introduce you to our special library team. We are special library team number 2, and I am Jack Summers, your team leader. Vanessa Smith is our action planner number 1. Bo Woodson is our action planner number 2. Erin Mickelrath is our action planner number 3 and assistant team leader. And Jill Reifenberg is our researcher. And she had the ideas for this library from her original instructions manual on Virginia Hall. So before we start, we need to ask the question, who is Virginia Hall? So she is a hidden hero of World War II. She was a US citizen and a clandestine spy. She was born in 1906 and she went to Barnard and Radcliffe University before moving abroad to Europe. She was the inventor of the Heckler system, and the Heckler system was a group of French citizens that worked together in World War II to gather German counterintelligence. She was a recipient of the Distinguished Service Cross from President Harry Truman, and she chose to accept this award only in front of her mother because she valued her clandestine mission and wanted to keep a low public profile. So our library is dedicated to her and the other hidden heroes of World War II. Now we will go into an overview of the Virginia Hall Library and Archives. Our library is located in the Bromo Arts District of Baltimore, Maryland. Baltimore, Maryland is the birthplace of Virginia Hall and has a population of about 575,000 people, which makes the 29th largest city in the US. We chose the Bromo Arts Districts because it's a 117-acre area of downtown Baltimore, and it has over 30 galleries. The mission of this arts district is to support and advance the work of artists and cultural organizations in downtown Baltimore. We felt that by telling the stories of our hidden heroes that we were contributing to this mission. The demographics of Baltimore are 62% African American, 30% white, 2.6% Asian, 5.3% Hispanic, and 0.3% American Indian. And the median income of Baltimore is about $29,000. We wanted the aesthetic of our building to match the hidden in plain sight idea of our hidden heroes. So we wanted it to be a speakeasy-esque building. Oops. It will be unassuming on the outside with a normal door, but opens up to a beautiful 2-storied classic library with a grand staircase connecting both stories. Our customer base at our library will be quite diverse. We will have partnerships with local schools, and they can come to enjoy the entertaining archival experience as we tell the stories of our hidden heroes. We will also be a stop for renowned World War II researchers who will be able to make appointments to visit our archives and rent desks on the second floor. And last, Baltimore has over 200,000 tourists a year, and this will be a hotspot as people come to visit the Bromo Arts District. Because we have a tremendous number of primary sources, it is important to have technology in order to support these resources. We will have microfilm viewers, VCRs, record players, audio players, and we will also offer subscriptions to multiple databases for research efforts. And next, our library has plenty of unique services. One of the best things about our library is that we have 3 staff members dedicated to the customer experience. Like we said earlier, it is important that we tell the stories of the hidden heroes, and that our customer experience team will be able to tell those stories. Next, our full-time staff will be required to publish scholarly articles every 2 years, and the interns from the local college will support in these research requirements. And last, we will have rotating features of our hidden war heroes. Virginia Hall will always be on display, but we will consistently rotate whose story we tell and make sure those stories get out. And next, I will go on to our SWOT. So, Vanessa will be talking about action plan number 1 and digitizing collections, which we deemed as a weakness. Next, Bo will talk about moisture-related damage to collections, which we also designated as a weakness. And last, Erin will talk about advanced emergency strategy, which we saw as a threat to the Virginia Hall Memorial Library. And now I will pass it on to Vanessa, who will talk about action plan number 1. Thank you.
Our first course of action is addressing the SWOT weakness of digitizing the collections we host at the Virginia Hall Memorial Library. This need has become increasingly significant due to the impact COVID-19 has had on our society. The massive shutdowns of public facilities, along with individual reasons to practice social distancing, has led the library faculty to question the best way to continue providing services for our constituents. As such, the library faculty have decided to update our software systems and website to provide public access to our collections while they remain safe. While discussing this process, our faculty considered many issues, but found 3 to be the most pressing. Firstly was deciding and implementing a software system that would best fit the need of our library. To address this issue, the faculty will hold regular meetings discussing and researching software and operating systems that will not override the library's website, digitize primary and secondary collections with ease, and is intuitive to use for our constituents. Equally important to our library is the order and choosing of which collections we digitize. This issue will also be discussed in regular and ongoing meetings, with the simultaneous and continued publishing of the library's e-journal for the time being. Once these 2 issues are addressed, the library will handle the 3rd issue of training librarian faculty in the decided operations system. The library plans to utilize a 3rd party in order to train our staff. Moving on, we will now be looking at the evaluation process of such an ambitious plan. In order to ensure efficiency and progression, the library will install a monthly evaluation system carried out by the executive director in 1 to 3 hour meetings during the research and implementation stages of this process. Additionally, staff will remain communicative in the spaces between meetings through email chains. A final evaluation will consist of server testing to ensure quality speed and prevent unnecessary server shutdowns as the internal evaluation component of this plan. An external evaluation component will be completed by the Patron Experience Manager, sending out surveys attached to the library's newsletter to constituents to determine user experience. The assessment will either notify the library faculty of issues to make improvements on, or allow us to continue the process of digitization. Our next course of action will be discussed by Bo.
Hello everyone, my name is Bowitz and I'm going to tell you today about our library's new Conservation and Preservation Initiative. This initiative is going to address the internal weakness identified in our SWOT of moisture-related damage to our collections. This weakness was identified after leaks in the building were repeatedly reported, as well as when several items were identified to be damaged by mold and had to be thrown out. We have identified this weakness as an urgent matter to be addressed because of both Baltimore's humid climate, which lends itself to the spread of mold, as well as dangers of flooding, as we have received record levels of rain in recent years, and trends in global warming show that these damages will continue most likely to grow. We have therefore decided to draft this Conservation and Preservation Initiative to commit to hiring a conservation manager whose primary responsibility will be to look after and prevent further damage to our collections. To accomplish these goals, we plan to implement the following steps. First, our executive director will submit a budget proposal to be approved by our board of trustees, which will include preliminary costs, including the salary of our conservation manager and additional supply costs. We plan to hire this new staff before the end of the summer so that they can hit the ground running and begin to execute the remaining steps and also make suggestions and adjustments as needed before the winter sets in. This new manager will identify and work with library staff to create a task force that will aid in the duties that they will need to carry out. The conservation manager will need assistance in finding troublesome areas that have already been identified, as well as retrieving materials and conducting extensive cleaning when necessary. A high priority task will be to establish an emergency disaster plan in the event of severe flooding. The conservation manager will meet with local law enforcement and the fire department, as well as any other necessary personnel, in order to create this disaster plan and will then conduct a training for all library staff so that the entire library team knows what to do in case of such a disaster. Besides these initial steps, the conservation manager will also work to procure mold inspections and building inspections so that we may get a more firm grasp of where our condition of our building stands, as well as what we can possibly do about it. The long-term and greatest responsibility for the conservation manager will be to continually inspect the entirety of our collections, in addition to any new acquisitions we may have or any items that are loaned to us. At the beginning of the new year, we will be expecting the conservation manager to produce evaluations, which will then continue on an annual basis. The evaluations will focus on qualitative data, consisting of the conservation manager's personal assessments and observations, and then will also include any official inspection reports that are also collected. And it would also collect quantitative data describing the amount of materials that have been cleaned, the amount of mold or other damage found, and the amount of items that have been discarded due to excess damage. And with that, I now will hand this off to Erin to present their action plan.
Hello, I'm Erin McElrath, and I will be presenting action plan number 3, Advanced Emergency Strategy. Here we will discuss maintaining public engagement and staff retention in the midst of COVID-19 and future global emergencies. The issues we considered were reimagining our physical workspaces, collection digitization, and remote work for our staff. As discussed previously, the Virginia Hall Memorial Library prides itself on providing information and resources regarding World War II and the Holocaust, while preserving and honoring the memory of Virginia Hall and other undercover heroes. As a special library, our collections are primarily World War II focused and include diaries, journals, and ephemera of the time, thus making remote access to our library a challenge. How could the Virginia Hall Memorial Library create a similar remote environment that encapsulated the same premise of the physical space? We had an opportunity to reimagine our physical workspaces, as well as create a strategy to help not only in COVID pandemic, but in future global emergencies without losing patrons and providing top-notch service. The library needed to grow its digital presence, which means digitization of collections as well as community outreach. How could digital licensing be navigated? Once we get a digital preservation strategy in place, what percentage of our library can we offer digitally? And what would remote work look like for our staff? Do our current technology solutions allow for remote work? And what are the specific hardware challenges we will face? As we move to a remote space, what does community involvement look like? And how do we go about engaging the community seamlessly? Can we use this model to influence our library going forward? Can we reimagine our physical spaces for physical distancing and implement other health and safety measures? While it is imperative to create a digital atmosphere for our library, it is also necessary to ensure licensing covers digitization. As licensing only covers certain aspects of publishing, sometimes online is not included. Negotiations will have to be made before some works can be made available. Regarding remote work, library staff who have access to personal equipment can utilize their own hardware, while staff who does not have personal access will repurpose hardware and laptops not currently being utilized during library shutdown. For our evaluation, there would be a continuation of the digitization process and negotiations with publishers and estates to ensure that library artifacts can be used for online publishing. The library will continue to see new visitors and patrons with an increase of donations due to online enrichment, such as author talks, online galleries, virtual historical walks. Librarians will be able to work remotely, seamlessly, with access to what they need while assisting patrons virtually. The needs of our patrons will be met consistently and in a timely manner. We want to thank you for visiting the Virginia Hall Memorial Library, and we hope to see you again online for now.